Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome everybody. Thank you for coming on time. Since you have all come on time, you are going to get from me extra blessings. May Krishna bless you, protect you, and maintain you, and may all your anxieties fly away. For coming on time, extra blessings. Tonight, I will be doing a Bhagavat Katha. In the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Narada Muni is instructing Maharaj Yudhishthir. The occasion is Yudhishthir's Rajasuya sacrifice. And that sacrifice was almost disturbed and destroyed because of the demoniac antics of Shishupal. Everyone in the assembly agreed to the Pandava Sahadev when he stood up and said that the Agra Puja, the first worship, should be for Krishna. And everybody in the assembly, including demigods, Brahmanas, Rishis, and exalted kings, all agreed with Sahadev. Yes, Krishna should be worshipped first. But Shishupal objected. And he spoke most nasty words criticizing Krishna. And there was about to be a big bloodbath, because so many would not agreeing to Shishupal's antics. And Krishna could see, this whole sacrifice is going to be spoiled. So Krishna solved the whole dilemma by using his Sudarshan Chakra and decapitated Shishupal, and not one drop of blood was spilled. It was what we call clean shave. Because if there had been blood, then the sacrifice would have been spoiled. But Krishna arranged it, not one drop. And everyone saw a most amazing thing. The Atma, the soul of Shishupal, came out of his body and like a meteor shot into the body of Krishna. So Yudhishthir was sitting, I guess Narada was right near where Yudhishthir was. So Yudhishthir asked Narada, what is this? Can you explain what is this? And that is how the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is delineated. 15 chapters. And so in one of those chapters, Narada explains to Yudhishthir what are the duties of an advanced civilized human being. We call that Aryan, advanced civilized human being. And one of the things that Narada said was that, Yudhishthir, since you are a householder, your primary duty is to hear Krishna Katha. And that is what we do, Krishna Katha. So you, 99% of us are householders, grihastas. So that is why I'm doing this Bhagavat Katha, following the instructions of Narada. So we already invoked auspiciousness with the 12-syllable mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. There are different mantras. Some have 8 syllables, some have 4. The Maha Mantra has 32 syllables. So in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is the scene, the sages of Naimisharanya. This scene that opens the Bhagavatam took place early in the beginning of Kali Yuga. According to several statements in the Bhagavatam, Kali Yuga began the day Krishna went back to his abode in the spiritual world. There's more than one such statement in the Bhagavatam. And so the sages of Naimisharanya have assembled, and they're going to do a sacrifice for 1,000 years. For who? Us. They specifically wanted to do this sacrifice for the people who would take birth in Kali Yuga. That is us. So, the sages are led by Shaunaka Rishi, and they have selected as their speaker, sitting on an exalted seat, Suta Goswami. And why did they select Suta? Because he was present right there at the original recitation of Bhagavatam by Shukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit. And indeed, before Parikshit was burnt up by the snake bird, body burnt to ashes, before Shukadev departed, he predicted, he pointed to Suta Goswami and said, this Suta Goswami in the future will speak to the sages of Naimisharanya the same Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is a conversation within a conversation within so many different conversations going on. Sometimes you have to think, okay, how does everything fit in? Because there's so many conversations. But the beginning conversation, the whole first canto, is Suta speaking to the sages of Naimisharanya. And the sages, headed by Shaunaka, ask 6 very important questions of Suta Goswami. And the section that I'm speaking on today was the last question. So I beg you to please try to hear. The more you concentrate, the more you will get out of the katha. That's the key. Even Suta Goswami says that at some point. He said to the sages, because I heard Shukadeva Goswami with rapt attention, I'm able to repeat to you everything. So that's the key, to listen with rapt attention, not to be distracted by cell phone. To listen very attentively. And I will try to present it as nicely as I can. If you're ready to proceed, please say, Hare Krishna. Okay, I'll settle for that. O Suta, knowing well that the age of Kali has already begun, we are assembled here in this holy place to hear at great length the transcendental message of Godhead, and in this way perform sacrifice. So, Two things. Yes, Naimisharanya is a very holy place. It is said in the Puranas that Naimisharanya is considered by Lord Brahma to be the hub of the universe. The second point, we all know in Hindu culture you have been to hundreds and hundreds of Homa sacrifices. You've been to so many. But notice how they are doing sacrifice. They want to hear the message of Godhead. And indeed, Bhagavatam clearly says, Yagyai Sankirtana Prayayar Yajanti Hi Sumedasa. How do you do sacrifice in the age of Kali? Bhagavatam says, Sankirtan. Some complete, full kirtan, chanting, glorification, description of Godhead. Everybody say, Hari. Twangna sandarshito datra dustarang nistatishatam kaling sattva harang pungsang karnadhara ivarnavam. The sages now say, O Sutta, we think that we have met you by the will of providence. What is providence? Providence is the hand of God. In the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains there are 5 things which determine the outcome of any activity. But the 5th factor is the crucial. Daivam, providence, the hand of God. As we learn from Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna is the ultimate controller. And because he's the ultimate controller, and also in the 13th chapter, Anumanta hi upadrashta. Krishna says in chapter 13 of Gita, I am Paramatma in your heart as Super Soul. And I am doing 2 things. I am witnessing and I am sanctioning. We must always remember, we may make so many endeavors, and we, from the material aspect, we may think, I've checked all the boxes. Like when you do your taxes, you make sure you check all the boxes. But according to what Krishna says in Gita, that last box, Krishna gives the thumbs up or thumb down. So therefore, the intelligent person always remembers, yes, I want to do this activity, I want to do everything nicely, but ultimately, I need the blessings. Therefore, we always chant and invoke the names of God. Hare Krishna. Very nice. By your chanting response, it tells me how I'm doing. If the response is, then I know, oh, I've got to tell a few jokes to wake them up. But I can see this audience is, don't take it the wrong way, woke. Woke, the Vedas is the original woke philosophy. Why? Tamasima Jyotirgama. The Vedic aphorism is woke, the original pure woke philosophy. Come out of the darkness, wake up, go to the light, the Vedas. Yes. When you accept a spiritual master, when you accept the spiritual path, you are now woke. Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings Jeev Jago. Jeev Jago. That was what Lord Chaitanya used to do early in the morning. him, Lord Chaitanya, and his associates around sunrise, maybe before sunrise, going through the villages and towns of Navadvip with their kartal and drum. Haraye Nama Krishna Yadavaya. Wake up. Don't sleep anymore. Jeev Jago. Jeev Jago. We have accepted you as captain of the ship for those who desire to cross the difficult ocean of Kali. This concept comes later also, when Shukadeva Goswami is finishing, and the very famous verse, Kaler dosha nide rajan astihi eko mahan guna kirtanad eva krishnasya mukta sangha parang vrajet. Shukadev, finishing up his instructions to Parikshit, says that Kali Yuga is like an ocean of what? Bad things. Dosha. Not the kind we eat South Indian. No. Here dosha means fault, bad thing. And Shukadeva Goswami says Kali Yuga is an ocean, meaning wave after wave after wave, day after day after day. We're just getting bad news. So, we learn from Bhagavad Gita, Daivi hi esha gunamayi, mama maya duratyaya. Krishna clearly says, my material energy. Notice, Krishna says, my material energy, insurmountable. But Krishna says there is a way to cross over this ocean of Kali, the ocean of material existence. What is that? Mam eva ye prapadyante, surrender. Just like those who belong to the Pushti Marg, Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama, I take shelter, I surrender to Sri Krishna. That's Mahamantra. So, and same thing is there in my favorite bhajan. Bhaja hure mana Sri Nanda Nandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare Durlava Manava Jannama Satsange Taraha Ebhava Sindhure. Same example. Taraha Ebhava Sindhure. Same thing when Krishna says in Sanskrit, Mayam Etang Taranti. This is, I was told that the language of Bhajahura is very early Bengali language. Taraha Ebhava Sindhu. The ocean of material existence. So here, if you're on a boat, you need a captain. You need someone who's going to guide the boat. So, the sages of Naimisharanya say, Sutta, you are our captain, and you are going to take us across this ocean of Kali. For tonight, I am acting as your captain. So, trick is, don't leave the boat. Meaning, don't leave the temple. Once you leave the temple, you're not protected. Actually, there is a statement towards the end of the first canto. The sages have heard many things from Sutta, and at some point they say, you know, Sutta, since we are here listening to this katha, we know that Yamaraj will not touch any of us. Such power is there in hearing Krishna katha. cross the ocean of Kali, which deteriorates all the good qualities of a human being. It's just the atmosphere that we live in. That's the problem with Kali Yuga. The atmosphere is polluted. And as it says here, it doesn't stop. Wave after wave after wave. Now comes the final question of the 6. I mentioned they asked 6. Very, very important question. Bruhi Yogeshvare Krishna. That beautiful word, Krishna. Everybody? Brahmanye Dharma Varmani. Swang Kashtang Aduno Pete Dharmakang Sharanam Gataha. There's that word, Sharanam. So what do the sages say? Since Sri Krishna, the absolute truth, and the master of all mystic powers, now that he has departed for his own abode, tell us to whom the religious principles have now gone for shelter, Sharanam. Very important question, because when Krishna was walking this earth in your country, not America, your country, India, Krishna's feet were actually there in Vrindavan, in Mathura, in Dwaraka. Only 5,000 years ago. And from one angle of vision, that's recent. So while Krishna was here, everything was with Krishna. Religion, morale. What does Sanjaya say? The very last verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Wherever there is Krishna and Arjuna, there will be extraordinary opulence, power, victory, morality. But rightly, the sages are saying, but Krishna has gone. So there seem to indicate that means all the religious things have left with Krishna. So they're concerned. What are people going to do in the age of Kali for shelter, Sharanam? What are they going to do? So, Sutta Goswami in chapters 2 and 3 begins to reply to these 6 questions. In chapter 2, he gives the science of God. It's all there. A whole series of verses. Sutta Goswami gives the science of God. My favorite verse of that section, Srinvatang Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridyantaksto hi abhadrani Vidhunoti Surit Satam. I love this verse. So, this verse, Sutta says, that when you hear Krishna Katha, what is Krishna Katha? Words spoken by Krishna and words spoken about Krishna. Bhagavad Gita is Krishna Katha, Bhagavan Uvacha. And Bhagavatam is by devotees describing Krishna. So Krishna speaks in Bhagavatam, as well as so many incarnations, but so many narrations are by devotees. So this verse, Srinvatang Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana, just agreeing to hear the message makes you pious. Just for listening, not sleeping, listening, paying attention. Just for listening, you are amassing pious activities. Okay, so Srinvatang Swakata Krishna Punya Sravana Kirtana. Hridi, here comes the line. Hridi antatstohi abhadrani. Abhadra. Abhadra is the opposite of Subhadra. Here we have Subhadra, Arjuna's wife, Krishna's sister. Subhadra. Bhadra means auspicious. Subhadra, most auspicious, very auspicious. But this verse, Abhadrani, inauspicious. Yes. So what does hearing Bhagavatam do? Vidhunoti, cleansing. Cleansing. It's now spring. So at some point, the ladies and the men should help. Spring cleaning. Right? Don't you do that? My wife makes me. That day will come. Hey, let's go. Especially my Bhajan Kutir office. Takes about 2 hours. But that's important. So, this message of Bhagavatam, Vidhunoti, cleanses all inauspiciousness from the heart. What was Lord Chaitanya's first instruction? Chaito Darpana Marjanam. Cleanse the heart. Chaita. Chaita means heart or consciousness or the mind. All basically the same thing. First order of business in Lord Chaitanya's movement, Chaito Darpana, because the mind is like a mirror. If we take a hot shower, what happens? The mirror is all fogged up. If you want to do anything, put on kajal, you need the clean mirror. So the heart is just like a mirror, and it needs to be cleansed of what? Bad, inauspicious concepts, materialistic, bad things. So this hearing of Krishna Katha cleanses it. And as Lord Chaitanya says, Sarvatma Snapanam. Sankirtan is like taking a bath for the soul. The soul becomes fully cleansed. After the science of God, Sutta explains the various Purushas, 3. Mahavishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, Shirodakashayi Vishnu. These are the Purusha avatars. According to the teachings of the Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there are 6 kinds of incarnations. One of them is these Purushas, the 3 different super souls of the material universe. The overall super soul, Mahavishnu. Then the super soul for each universe, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. And then the super soul in your heart and within every atom, Shirodakashayi Vishnu. Then Sutta Goswami gives a list of 22 avatars or incarnations. But then, now, not that there's just 22, no. Because also it is said in that same chapter, the incarnations of God are like the waves of the ocean. They don't stop. But, so he gives a sampling of 22. But after reciting comes the most important line in the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. 18,000 shlokas boiled down to one, not even the whole shloka, one line. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Yes, So many incarnations were mentioned, but whose incarnations he didn't say until this verse. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. All these incarnations, where are they coming from? Right there, in your altar, front and center. Ramanji, RadhaRamanji, Krishna. Krishnastu, everybody say, Krishnastu. Oh, you know it already. Do it again. Now I know I can step it up at a different level. All right. Because I have to gauge according to the level of the audience. So, finally, in chapter 3, towards the end, that sixth question which I spoke. Where have the religious principles now gone after Krishna has departed? That is, for us, it's actually the most pertinent of the six questions. What are people going? Sharanam, where are they going to go for shelter? We've all seen over the years, Sri RadhaRaman Bhagavan Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ki Jai, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Ki Jai, Gaur Nitai Ki Jai, Nrsimha Bhagavan Ki Jai, Ganesh Ji Ki Jai, Hanuman Ji Ki Jai, Durga Mata Ki Jai, Shiva Ki Jai. All glories to our beautiful temple deities. So, we've all seen, because we all watch the news, right? There is somewhere right now, there's some disaster somewhere. Flooding or fires or earthquakes or volcano. So, when devastation comes, people are looking where to take shelter. That's natural. Where are you going to go? If there's an earthquake, where do you go? So, this question, where are people going to go for the ultimate shelter in Kali Yuga? Here comes the answer. Idang Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Danyang Swasti Ayanang Mahat. Sutta Goswami said, Srimad Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of God. Just as we have the deity, Sri Murti, that's the incarnation of God. We should never think that we are worshiping idols or statues. We are worshiping Archa Avatar. That's the phrase, that's how it's used. The deity is God, not symbol, is. That's why if anybody says to me, oh, you people worship idols. I don't worship idols. You worship idols. American Idol, money, singers, entertainers, crackpot politicians. I don't worship them. I worship God. And here is yet another incarnation of God, literary. God in book form. Any of you ever visited a Sikh temple? They have the Guru Granth, right? I've been. When I visited Panama, there's one Sikh temple I was invited to attend, and the Grantha was huge. And I was very impressed. They're doing so many puja, homa, and somebody is fanning the book. I said, yes, they've got the right idea. It is an avatar. It is a deity. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of God compiled by Vyasadeva. And notice the Sanskrit, Chakara Bhagavan Rishi. Vyasadeva is not some ordinary Rishi. No. Bhagavan Rishi. Empowered incarnation of God in the form of a Rishi. And he compiled Bhagavatam on the order of Narada Muni. That's explained in the 5th chapter and 6th chapter. Narada Muni Bhajaya Vina RadhaRaman Name. I have great affection for Narada Muni, who also appears as Lord Chaitanya's associate as Srivas Thakur. Interesting, I just did a class recently. So you all know Narada is Naishtika Brahmachari. But in Chaitanya Leela, he's married. Interesting. It's the same person, but in Chaitanya Leela, he has a wife, Malini, and he has sons. Some things are above my pay grade. I simply have to. It is said in the Mahabharata, things that are inconceivable, there's no use trying to argue. So many things in our scriptures, they're not necessarily logical. But those who know, they accept. Oh, the Vedas say it is like Prabhupada gives the common example. If you touch stool, you're considered contaminated, you have to take bath. But cow dung is used to clean the marble in the temple. So someone may think, oh, then maybe the stool of a Brahmana is pure. No, that's not necessarily wrong conclusion, but it's not stated in the Vedas. Cow dung is pure. So, Vyasadeva compiled this Srimad Bhagavatam, and what does it say? This Bhagavatam is meant for the ultimate good of all people. So this is why Prabhupada instructed his disciples, distribute, give these books out. Whether it be Gita or Bhagavatam, this is transcendental literature. Prabhupada gave us the instruction because his guru, Bhakti Siddhanta, told Prabhupada at Radha Kund, nonetheless. At Radha Kund, what did Bhakti Siddhanta say? At that time, Bhakti Siddhanta had spent lots of money constructing a fabulous temple in Calcutta. But after the temple was constructed, his disciples started fighting and arguing. I want this room. I want this room. They missed the whole point. Because Bhakti Siddhanta simply wanted to spread the message of Godhead in a systematic form. So Bhakti Siddhanta, this was just before his disappearance. He confided in Prabhupada. He told Prabhupada, he said, I spent so much money building this Bagh Bizar temple. I want to sell all the marble and print books. That would be better. Since all of his disciples were simply arguing. So he told Prabhupada, if you ever get money, print books. And Prabhupada used to hound us all the time. Distribute my books. And there was competition between the temples. Who could distribute more books? And the famous story. Back in 1972, our Los Angeles temple, they do what is called a Christmas marathon. So all the temples at that time were competing, and Los Angeles had the top score. They distributed thousands. So the leader, he went to Prabhupada, we distributed so many thousands of books. And he was thinking, oh, Prabhupada is going to pat us on the head. What did he say? Now double it. That is my Prabhupada. You never knew what was going to be said next. Here you are thinking, we just spent this whole month, hours and hours. And what did he tell us? Oh, very good, now double it. Because he took that instruction from Bhaktisiddhanta very seriously. And Prabhupada followed that. His whole scheme for the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, 50% had to be used for publication of the books. 50% could be used for establishing temples. And he was very keen, making sure, oh, he would write, your temple is behind in your payments. Pay. So, Bhagavatam is meant for the ultimate good of all people. Yes, two words in the Vedas, prayas and shreyas. Prayas means something which gives you immediate benefit. Just like after the arti, what are we going to do? Prasadanam. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Prasadanam. Right? So, that as soon as you take one bite, right? Like samosa or gulab jamun or jalebi, all right, shrikand, right? As soon as you, immediate benefit. But shreyas is different. Shreyas means something, the fruit comes later. As you told your children, I know you. You told your children, hey, study, work hard, then you will get a nice job, then you can enjoy properly. Right? You all impressed on your children. You wouldn't let them just goof off. I know you all for many, many years. You've told me. Yes. Indian culture stresses education. Am I right? You stress it. So, shreyas means, yes, you put in the hard work, but the benefit accrues later. So, shreyas, it's the ultimate good for all people. Bhagavatam is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. That's important. As I said, 18,000 shlokas. They're all perfect. And Prabhupada, there's a very famous lecture Prabhupada was giving in Los Angeles. And he was emphasizing how we should read the books and distribute. And this is what Prabhupada said in this lecture. That even they touch the book, they get benefit. What to speak if they read a page? He said, no. Even they read one shloka. No. Even they read one line. No. He said, even they read one word of Bhagavatam. All successful, all blissful, all perfect. Sutta continues, Sri Vyasadeva delivered Bhagavatam to his son. Who was that? Shukadeva Goswami, who was the most respected among the self-realized. Yes. At the end, the final chapter of the first canto, Parikshit has been cursed by Shringi, the inexperienced young Brahmin boy, to die within 7 days. Parikshit takes that as a text message. Oh, 7 days? Okay, I'm ready. He goes to the banks of the Ganges, sits down, and because it's Parikshit, he is a great devotee. All rishis and sages and demigods come to the scene. And then the first canto ends, somebody enters, naked, very dark blue complexion. And it's Shukadeva Goswami. And everyone stands up and says, yes. He will be the one to guide Parikshit for these 7 days and 7 nights. Notice, because Parikshit was thirsty, he decided, okay, this thirsty was the reason why I got cursed. So for 7 days and 7 nights, nothing. I'm just going to become absorbed in hearing from Shukadeva. So, Vyasadeva delivered it to his son, who is the most respected among the self-realized, after extracting the cream of all Vedic literatures and history of the universe. That is Bhagavatam. It is the cream, right? When I was living in the temple in Vancouver, when I first got married, I was in Vancouver. And the devotees used to go to a nearby dairy. And we would buy bottles of milk directly from the dairy. And on top was this 2 inches of cream. And my wife would make sweet rice. Oh, I wish that those days, that was fantastic. Sweet rice. Padam Anna. That cream was right there on the top. Because you would go directly to the cow farm. And the man was very nice. And you would get directly from the cow nice glass bottles of this cream. Also, the very third verse of Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is said to be the ripened fruit of the tree known as Vedas. Vedas means knowledge. Everything is there. But Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit. Just like mango season. Right? In India, mango season. What kind of mango you want? That reddish, right? Juicy. And you just, right? Am I right? Mango? You all love mango, right? I haven't met any Indian who doesn't like mango. I think it's their national fruit. Am I right? Huh? So that ripened fruit, the system used to be, somebody would climb a tree and he would go pass the mango down one by one. There'd be a whole chain. Not that they threw them. It would be handed one by one and collect. So Bhagavatam is Nigama Kalpa Kali. Listen, wait. Nigama Kalpa. Yes, Galitang Phalam. Thank you. See, Krishna didn't want me. He wanted you to get the credit. Nigama Kalpa Torah Galitang Phalam. Phalam, the fruit, ripened fruit. Shukadeva Goswami, in turn, delivered the Bhagavatam to the great Emperor Parikshit who sat surrounded by sages on the banks of the Ganges, awaiting death without taking food or drink. Now comes the final verse, because I'm over time. Please forgive me. But one final verse. Krishne swadamo bhagate dharma jnana dibi saha kalau nashta drisham esha puranarko dunoditaha. Bhagavat Purana is as brilliant as the sun. In other words, when the sun is shining, you don't need a lamp or a flashlight. The sun is self-luminous. Bhagavat Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. So, read Bhagavatam, hear Bhagavatam, and be benefited. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.